1% in, but that's the cost of marketing. But it does produce results. And so being able to enrich the information and understand if somebody has the capability to purchase and being able to marry that with their identity and their intention really expedites the process that we're talking about. And we'll dig into that a little bit more about what we can all do to improve those as we go forward. So that's a little bit about Acxiom. So hopefully you'll appreciate this. This is Chad Engelgau's view. I'll put that disclaimer out there so that I don't get fired when I go back to work next week. But the overview of track and targeting marketing. So for those of you who grew up on cartoons, I kind of see track and target marketing today as the fact that businesses go out there and they need to find customers. So they go to customers where they think customers exist, right, and where they hang out. I'd argue now that Facebook is the world's largest watering hole. And we have zebras, and we have giraffes, and we have, there's probably even unicorns out there in Facebook with 400 million of them. But when you have all those animals out there, you better believe that lions, tigers, and bears are also going to come there because that's where all the action's at. And so you're going to see a fundamental transformation of any area that has such a super group of users where advertisers have to go in there to try to connect, as you heard earlier, right? Everyone has to have a social engagement, as we heard earlier in marketing. Everyone has to have search engine optimization to try to tweak the rules and get their listings up higher when somebody expresses intention. Everybody has to have a website. Everybody has to do direct print. Everybody has to be on TV. Because they can't identify the users, they can't understand intention, and therefore they have to be wherever the users are at. So of course, marketers go to where people hang out. The challenge is, they don't always hit what they aim for. They might be honey rabbits, and sometimes they get it done. So identity fraud, risk management, and impacts to the bottom line occur because lots of times people are given credit, they're given access to information, they're sold items that either don't exist. It happens party to party on eBay every day, as well as businesses suffer because they don't always hit what they're shooting for. And of course, their money is also wasted. Of course, there's other practices that occur in this ecosystem. Those of you who install cookie crunchers probably don't like the fact that people are tracking all of your moves across the internet from site to site. In fact, there's super cookies that have groups of organizations doing that. So some of these practices garner negative feedback from users, as you can see. Some of the tools may actually become illegal. And so when we look out in global compliance, we look at the legal realm of what's occurring today, both in the United States and already in Europe. Certain types of information cannot be shared. And there's arguments going on today whether an IP address is actually personally identifiable information or not. Some people have ruled that it isn't. Some countries have ruled that an IP address is. And in fact, as we get to IPv8, when there is more than one IP address for every 3 square feet of ground in the entire planet. And each IP address actually will have an expression within it of a location based upon its distribution. The question of whether IP is PII or not becomes much more concerning. And then finally, the good news is users are trying to take control. And that's what we hear about today, because users who are in control of their identity, users who are in control and are able to express intention, and users who have insight to their information or how their information is being used, are probably more likely to participate in those type of ecosystems, as well as reduce the cost of delivering goods or services to them, because they're an active participant in the process, instead of being tracked and targeted. So with that, why is this so hard, right? You just go to Facebook, right? You look at people's expressed intentions, you put up your little icons or banner ads, right? And the money starts flowing in. And that's true, just to some extent. And the challenge as we talk about identity is that there's a huge recognition challenge. Because of the explosion of touch points on that outside ring, people's engagements and interactions with each other and with businesses are more anonymous now than they've ever been. You don't go down to the local store to go buy a majority of your goods and services. You search the internet for the best deal, the best price, the best location with hopefully free delivery. You also participate in a number of environments where your personas are created and you not necessarily want to or expressing who you really are. You're in a gaming site, you're in a social network, you're communicating via email. or through chat or other things. Many people have the expressed intention of creating multiple personas and don't want to be known for who they are in their business environment and their social environment. Others, as you heard today, like to combine those two things together. As you get inside of that, there's a recognition or association, and people are trying to leverage that for identity now. So you are who you hang out with. Insurance companies today, for example, are looking at social networks to determine whether they should investigate people for fraud. Investigating a fraud claim is extremely expensive. And so to make a decision on whether you should determine if this person is potentially trying to rip off your company is a risky choice. Because if you're wrong, you're going to lose a customer. And you're probably going to lose 5 or 6 customers because they're going to tell everybody how bad an experience they've had with you because you didn't want to respect their claim. But at the other end of the spectrum, they have to mitigate their risks. So they look at your social network as an example because you are who you hang out with, and they're trying to determine have other people in your social network or your social groups make claims as well. So they're looking at these environments and trying to determine associations, whether they're business, whether they're social, whether they're familial, to make judgments about your identity or the risk that you pose. And then, of course, finally, the ultimate goal, though, would be to validate that information so that they can actually deal with you on a one-to-one basis, better understand your intention, better understand your preferences, better understand what you care about so that they can better service you, because that's the end goal, because then they believe they can have a customer for life. So that's the recognition challenge of weaving through all of those areas, trying to get to a one-to-one conversation with an individual. Again, why is that so hard? We're technologists. We have lots of technology. Acxiom has lots of technology. We can try to solve this problem in a variety of ways, probabilistic, deterministically, knowledge-based, reference-based. We can ask people. But the fact is that in the middle of all this, change occurs, and lots of it. So 2% a month, you're looking at databases at 1 million records lose, 240,000 records a year become obsolete or incorrect. So it's really staggering in terms of trying to manage information, keep it accurate, keep it organized, and be able to respond against it. And that's why with the expansion of touch points, it's becoming so challenging to get a relevant message to people at the right time with the right content accurately to the individual. The good news is, for developers and for the people here as well, though, this is big business, right? Solving this problem is meaningful to businesses, which means it's meaningful to people, who are interested in technology and interested in solving problems in ways that have never been solved before. This unique opportunity that we have here to drive, relationships around context, relationships around intention, relationships around identity, and I'll put out some suggestions on some things we're considering or things that we should consider overall as we go through this process. We're not going to articulate this is what we have to do, but I just want you all to think about some of the areas at which we believe there's opportunities for improvement. But as you can see across this spectrum, there's a number of companies, many of those huge, right, that have just grown up in the last 10 years to become some of the leading providers of services, both meaningful to consumers and meaningful to businesses, right? Google, it's meaningful to everybody because they found a valuable niche and they've put a business model around it to make money. But I call, a lot of things that are happening in that anonymous realm really the analysis of the digital exhaust, right? Your footprint in a track and target world, right? What website did you step on last, right? What was your behavior? What did it look like? How long did you last there, right? It's just like a hunter in the woods, picking up deer droppings, right, and looking for footprints. They're trying to determine, right, is this the right area to respond to and to follow in order to maximize my opportunity. Other companies that do IP geo-tracking, right, so that as soon as you connect to them, right, they look at your IP address, they look at your system information, they compare that against a table of information that they've collected offline, and they can marry that up to make a better determination of, should I offer, Chad Engelgau Ugg boots, right, or should I offer him, a swimsuit? Well, it really depends on where he lives, right? He might be interested if he lives in the north and it's December in winter clothes versus swim trunks, because he lives in California and he can go to the beach all year long. Those kind of things are relevant. They also, get meaningful information, if used appropriately, can help determine that if you come in from China, it would be great if we did localization against our site and showed you the Chinese version of our website versus forcing you to go through or click through a localized version to make that preference or choice. Technology should allow us to respond appropriately, but at the same time, it's simply all out there to try to pick up all these touch points that are occurring to make sense of it, to identify users. A lot of people have referred to the walled gardens.